How many times must I tell you? You must never put your life on the line for me.
Mother has always had a fascination for Lord Mortimer, but has never wanted to tell me why.
We are doing our utmost to find your mother as quickly as possible.
Without your mother, hundreds of men of the cloth would have gone to the guillotine.
All I can tell you is I'm looking for my sister.
Do you believe your mother capable of torturing a child?
An agreement for cannons. Lord Mortimer assured me that you are to take over the project on behalf of your mother.
Johann Christoph von Wollner, Minister of Religious Affairs, and Jacques Peroux, French Revolutionary Tribunal Judge. You will find that Lord Mortimer is not what one would call conventional, Monsieur de Richet. Monsieur de Richet, I am arresting you for the murder of Elizabeth Adams.
At last we meet, Monsieur de Richet. Do you mind if I call you Louis?
Please do.
Thank you. I wish to apologize wholeheartedly, Louis. I made you cross the seas, and I wasn't even here to welcome you. When I asked you to join us here, it was, of course, in the hope that you would help us find your mother. But an act of horrific violence occurred during the night, and I do not know if this is linked to the disappearance of Sarah.
If there's a possible link to my mother, I hope you'll let me know.
In the early hours of the morning, Elizabeth Adams was found dead in her room, savagely mutilated with a knife. I'll get straight to the point, Louis. According to the initial elements at my disposal, you were the last person to see her alive.
Yes, last night we, Do you suspect me?
I want you to tell me everything that happened last night and leave nothing out. Tell me, how did the evening begin?
Duchess Hillsborough and I were returning to our rooms when Elizabeth came up to us. She was in a state of panic and insisted that she needed to speak to me. She said she feared for her life. I took my leave of the Duchess and followed Elizabeth to her room.
Continue.
She insisted we have a drink, without which she refused to confide anything.
What exactly did she want to speak about?
She claimed she saw my mother the previous evening on the cliff, if I remember correctly.
Interesting. I will send someone as soon as possible. But do go on.
I refused to go on drinking with her. She already seemed drunk and her conversation became confused. So then she ordered me to get out. If only I'd stayed.
Don't blame yourself, Louis. How could you have known? But thank you for this new information.
Louis, I shan't hide the fact that this tragedy puts me in a very delicate situation. I cannot risk upsetting the smooth operation of our next conference. But the case cannot remain unaddressed. I must reassure my guests, and justice will be done. And for that to happen, I must ask for your help.
Why is that?
You met Elizabeth. You spoke together, I believe. She trusted you. Listen, Louis. Find out who could have committed this murder. I refuse to believe that one of my guests is the murderer. I want to know who is responsible for this. And I trust you. You have my backing. You must stop at nothing. Can I count on you?
Of course. How would you like me to proceed?
Maybe you could start by going to the scene of the crime. Elizabeth was attacked in her room.
Do you have any suspects in mind, my lord?
I spent most of the night talking with Sir Gregory and His Eminence Piaggi, so I think you can remove them from the list of suspects. Monsieur Bonaparte and President Washington left the party after midnight, I believe. They were tired and went up to bed.
Can you tell me anything else about what happened?
Now, Louis, I wouldn't want to influence you. Get over there and form your own opinion.
Right. I'll get over there immediately.
Thank you, Louis. Now, once you've finished, come back and let me know your findings. I'll be waiting. And Louis, you've got permission to search through the guests' rooms. They've all been notified and they agree.
Your Eminence, I imagine that you've heard the news about Miss Adams.
What a tragedy, my son. How could such a thing have happened?
That's exactly what I'm trying to find out. Did you notice anything out of the ordinary last night?
I saw the young French soldier, Bonaparte, I believe, hanging around near Miss Adams' room. But I would not want to get an innocent man into trouble, Louis. It's probably nothing.
Not to worry, Your Eminence. If he is innocent, then he has nothing to fear. Do you know why Monsieur Bonaparte was hanging around her room like that?
Well, I wouldn't be surprised to learn that the dashing young soldier had become infatuated with a fragile young woman who looked a bit lost. But I don't think he got a very warm welcome.
Bonaparte and Adams? But they didn't even know each other, did they?
I couldn't say, Louis. But if I were you, my son, I would talk to Monsieur Peru. You remember how violently he set upon Miss Adams.
Oh, don't worry. He's on the list of suspects.
What do you want from me, de Richet?
Greetings. It's fallen to me
Cut
that...
the crap! Get to the point. We both know why you're here.
And have you got anything to tell me?
What does it matter? It's too late anyway. Do what you have to do and get out.
It's never too late, sir. If you have something to say, now is the time.
You don't understand. Everything's already written. It's over.
Why is he behaving like the perfect culprit? What is it that's already written? I'm not sure I follow you.
No, you don't.
Dear Elizabeth, I'm writing to inform you of some unfortunate news. We won't be able to meet as planned on the first Sunday of May. I've been told that you're no better, and, unfortunately, your brothers and I are absolutely snowed under by the work required to govern this new country. Please excuse us. As soon as we can get free, even if it's just for a day, I promise we shall come and see you. Your loving father, John Adams. P.S. Don't hold it against your mother. She still isn't ready. Please don't judge her. I'm sure you'll be able to put all of this behind you one day.
There are numerous marks on the body. She must have fought like a lion. It couldn't have happened without a lot of noise. There are also a number of old scars. Scarring, ugh. Scarring isn't very regular, but they're mostly from old cuts. People who scar themselves in this way generally do so to relieve some kind of psychological suffering. By trying to master the pain, they establish their self-control. I see no sign of bruising on the skull. The only clue is a scar from a previous craniectomy. Poor Elizabeth, she must have been very young when she went through all that. That's torture. She also has old scars around the neck, maybe mutilations. She bled from the nose. There are signs of bleeding, but I don't see any traces of bruising. What a strange smell. Blood, but no trace of blows on the legs. The direction of the blood streaks caused by the wounds to the thorax show that she was standing when she lost blood. This proves that she was standing when she was assassinated, possibly held by someone or something. More tattoos, similar to those on the rest of her body. I count no fewer than 9 wounds on the thorax with a lot of blood. At first sight, I'd say that's what caused her death. It looks as though the wounds were inflicted from a precise angle, as if the murderer was standing behind Elizabeth. Some of these tattoos are veritable works of... What's that? The skin between her breasts is different. Bloody hell! This tattoo was drawn on a page of leather and stitched onto her skin. Probably during childhood. If the scars are anything to go by, it's the same kind of tattoo as on the rest of her body. But blood on the right hand. Nothing on the left except that tattooed symbol. No marks or bruising around the wrists. It doesn't look like she was tied up or held by force. Whoever left that footprint has boats for feet. That's at least a size 15. Where's a size like that here? Peru? Washington, maybe. The handprint on the handle is really small. I can't imagine a man with a hand that size. It must be from a woman's hand. Knocked over bottle of wine. Thing Elizabeth served me last night. Still just as disgusting. I don't know what's happened to this wine, but it's undrinkable. Vials of laudanum. The label shows that this laudanum comes straight from America. I wonder if Washington's involved. Blood spatter indicates that the murderer must have held Elizabeth upright during the attack. Even if Elizabeth wasn't very big, I doubt she wouldn't have put up a struggle. It takes tremendous strength to overpower someone like that. Pentagram? What the hell's been going on here? I wonder if Elizabeth's death has anything at all to do with this pentagram. If a ritual went wrong and degenerated, Elizabeth would probably have been killed in the center of the pentagram, not 3 meters from here. That's strange. Piece of fabric, high quality at that. I'd say it's silk. Going by the texture and the gray hue, it must come from a dress, that kind that women of quality wear. The color doesn't correspond to Emily's black outfits, and Elizabeth doesn't have anything quite like this in her wardrobe. Let's take a closer look. It's a little dirty. It must come from the bottom of the dress where it touches the ground. I recognize that moire pattern. It's the same as the travel dress my mother was wearing when she left. But why the hell did she come into this room? Pistol? Fairly new, I'd say. And judging by the weight of it, fairly light. Tribute engraved on the barrel to the liberators of France. There's a few dried traces of blood on the grip. Difficult to know for sure how they got there. It's extremely well maintained. The barrel is perfectly clean. It isn't loaded, and there's no traces of gunshot residue. I'd conclude that it hasn't been used recently. Right. I shall have to find its owner. November 1791. My dear sister, the cancellation of our reunion hit me like a stab to the heart. Father told me it was for your well-being, but I can't help but blame him.
He claims that your condition has worsened and that it could be dangerous for both of us if we met. If only I knew where you were, believe me, I'd be at your side. I haven't received any news from you in a long time. Please write. Your loving sister, Abigail. P.S. I hope you like the enclosed talisman. August 24th, 1792. Elizabeth, I'm driven to despair and doubt there is any point in writing to you. I'm not even sure you'll receive my letters. Father controls my correspondence more and more. I am certain he filters our exchanges. Thankfully, one of the chambermaids is able to help me get my letters to you. But they still remain unanswered. I often think about you and pray every day to be able to hold you tight. We have so much time to make up. I beg you, answer me, please. Your loving sister, Abigail. P.S. That horrible woman came again yesterday. She spent a long time speaking with Father. I didn't understand everything because they spoke in French, but I'm sure they were talking about you. June 11th, 1791. My dear Elizabeth, your last letter gave me much cause for concern. Your words were so cold, as if emotions no longer matter to you. Father maintains that the secondary effects of your treatment still trouble you, but that they will soon subside. Should I believe him? I cling to the belief that we shall soon see each other again, at long last. Write soon. Your loving sister, Abigail. P.S. Don't forget to tell me what present you want.
A notebook, written in Elizabeth's handwriting. It is written in a mix of several languages. Not too easy to work out.
A novel of the initiation of a young woman into polite society. A cache. Carmelite water will give me a little reprieve.
Clock stopped at 3:54.
If it was smashed during the murder, then I've just established the time of the crime.
Has Sir finished with this room?
Do you know who could have made such a mess of this room?
Miss Adams, sir. We were given orders to leave the room as it was, so as not to rush her.
Did she have a fight with someone to get the room into this state?
Not that I know of, sir. Miss Adams would sometimes throw a tantrum, during which she would destroy anything that came to hand. Lord Mortimer told us not to enter the room.
Thanks for that information.
You are welcome, sir. Has Sir finished with this room?
I know enough now. Thank you.
Very well, sir. Sir may return whenever need be. I shall guard the door.
Good day, Monsieur de Richet.
Mr. Volner, are you looking for anything in particular? Next to Elizabeth's room?
No, nothing special.
Has anyone told you that Elizabeth was killed last night?
Yes. Rumors spread quickly.
He looks very put out.
It's horrible. How did it happen?
I can say nothing to you, sir. You'd better follow your host's instructions and stay in your quarters.
I shall leave you now, sir. I will return to my room.
My dear George, I'd like to invite you to join me as planned at my place. I have a project to show you. It is time that the United States played a more important role on the world stage. I understand your reluctance of playing with fire. I know your new country is very young, but rest assured that I would do nothing to jeopardize what we have built together. I look forward to seeing you soon. Your friend, William.
It looks like a note between Emily and Washington about trade deals. Portrait of George Washington.
Greetings, Louis.
Mr. President, you can guess why I'm here.
Of course.
Lord Mortimer has sent me to ask you a few questions about last night.
It's... How am I going to tell Elizabeth's father that she's dead?
I know, Mr. President. I shall endeavor to find out the truth about this tragedy. I must ask you to help me, though. Please.
Find the degenerate pig who did this, Louis.
Are you all right, Mr. President? Are you feeling all right?
Oh, don't worry. It's this rotten toothache. What do you expect? I'm no spring chicken now.
Tell me, Mr. President, had you spoken to Elizabeth since your arrival? You know her father. You thought she was dead.
No, I didn't. And I believe I'll be taking my remorse with me to my grave. I wanted to, but I didn't know where to begin.
You can't blame yourself. You couldn't have known that her days were numbered. Were you aware that Elizabeth took laudanum?
Yes, she came to ask me for some. She had finished her reserve, I believe.
Did she tell you why she was so desperate to get some, Mr. President?
She said she had terrible migraines that wouldn't go away.
More likely for the voices she heard, not the migraines. Were you aware that Elizabeth took laudanum?
Yes, she came to ask me for some. She had finished her reserve, I believe.
Do you take it regularly, Mr. President?
Unfortunately, I do, Louis. I still suffer from a terrible toothache, and it's not likely to get any better.
It's just for that, then?
Old age, my young friend. I don't wish it upon you, but you'll soon see. At my age, it's rare to have no problems in that domain.
And do you take a lot?
A moderate amount, Louis. Only the dosage indicated on the prescription of my doctor.
Do you know if she had any enemies, Mr. President?
Not that I know of. I heard about her altercation with Mr. Peru, but that case was closed, if I'm not mistaken. But if in doubt, I wouldn't leave any door unopened, and I'd go and question your fellow countrymen.
Don't worry, countryman or not, I'm not letting anybody slip through the cracks. Mr. President, we found a footprint at the scene of the crime.
Not a dress shoe, I hope. That's all I wear.
No, rest assured, it looks like the print of a big ankle boot. A large size, I'd say.
Perfect. That should help you, Louis. It's a clue. Greetings, Louis.
Do you know why she came to the island?
To get help, if I'm not mistaken. Isn't that right?
Indeed. Sir Gregory suggested to her father that he introduce her to Lord Mortimer to see if he could help her. It would appear that she wasn't invited to the conference.
That doesn't surprise me. The poor girl was in no way concerned by our business, and she had no political clout.
So, I don't understand why Sir Gregory invited her during the conference of his good friend Lord Mortimer. He must have realized that he wouldn't have much time to grant her. Preparing a conference does not seem an easy task. On the evening of our arrival, Lord Mortimer didn't even welcome us, what with his being so busy and all.
Yes, you're right, Louis. I didn't think of that. It is indeed rather surprising. The easiest thing to do is simply ask him, you know.
Of course. I shan't keep you any longer, Mr. President.
Feel free, Louis. If there's anything I can do, just ask.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Golden elixir. I'll keep it for later. Pound. King George III in coronation robes. Nice touch for the room of an English duchess.
Dear E, I received your last letter. Unfortunately, the Crown informed the Golden Order that our mission should under no circumstances hamper Sir Gregory's plans. Decidedly, they have support from the highest level in Buckingham Palace. So here we both are, hands and feet tied, and little room to maneuver. Keep me abreast of events. Our mission is becoming more complicated. Yours, E. T.S. The French chapter of the Order doesn't appear to know anything about the arrival of our friend Sarah. I therefore cannot comment on it. However, my guess is that she has come here for personal reasons.
The Lady's Waldegrave by Reynolds, painted upon the request of the Waldegrave family, in an effort to find them a husband. Displayed like meat. It's disgusting.
A letter from William Pitt the Younger, addressed to Emily. He's the present Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. Emily has indeed some powerful backers.
Madam, thank you for consoling the Queen. The King's situation is worsening, but I wager he'll recover from this present fit. Next time you speak with Her Majesty the Queen, would you please be so kind as to ask her to look into my petition to raise taxes with the king. I will personally see to it that our nation will recover from this impasse. But King George's mental situation is slowing down our decision-taking. Thank you in advance for all your help. William Pitt, Prime Minister of the United Kingdom of Great Britain.
Two coils circle the lock. From William Pitt the Elder, addressed to Emily. He was the English Prime Minister. This letter dates from 15 years ago now. Madam, I shall never thank you enough for all your care and attention. I shall be indebted to you until my last breath. If you have any request of me, you only need ask. With regards to my son William, I shall never thank you enough for looking after him. You know the latter's preferences, and you will understand he needs you desperately. For that, and as agreed with Queen Charlotte, our friend Duke Hillsborough will carry out his task and meet with you within 6 months. From then on, you'll be free from want. Yours sincerely, William Pitt, Count of Chatham. A devil's thorn, to be used to uncover the best disguised traits.
What can I do for you, Louis?
I've come to see you about last night's tragedy. Did you hear anything about what happened to Elizabeth?
Yes, we all did. Rumors spread quickly, you know. How awful. I didn't know her well, but I hope at least the poor thing didn't suffer too much.
Death came quickly. You can be assured of that.
If such a senseless act can happen here, then none of us is truly safe anywhere. Lord Mortimer must be mortified that one of his guests could have committed such an act, don't you think?
He is indeed very upset about it. It's only natural after such a violent murder.
Violent? What do you mean?
Elizabeth was stabbed 9 times.
Oh my God, Louis. How awful. The murderer must have had a serious grudge against her to set upon her like that. It must have been a crime of passion. Do you know what happened exactly?
In fact, Lord Mortimer has asked me to look into this case, Emily.
Really? Are you Lord Mortimer's snoop now?
I'm doing it for Elizabeth, not to please Mortimer.
Good for you. Quite right, too. Have you found out anything?
I'm now interviewing all the guests to establish the alibis for each person. Just so that I can cross you off the list of suspects, can you tell me what you were doing on the night of the murder?
Am I given to understand that I'm on the list of suspects?
Don't take it the wrong way, but I must consider every possibility.
Well, if you absolutely wanted to be sure of my activities that evening, you only had to join me, you know.
I know, Emily. Especially since I couldn't prevent the murder, even though I spent part of the evening with Elizabeth.
You're sure it's not too hard to bear for you?
The fact is, I don't have a choice. But I will find the murderer. I owe Elizabeth that, at least. Did you and Elizabeth get to know each other?
I must admit, Louis, I didn't take much interest in her. I feel a bit guilty about it, but I never actually spoke to her. She seemed burdened by her problems, and as she wasn't invited to the conference, I didn't really seek her out.
I hear you were in discussions with the Holy See.
Oh, either His Eminence can't keep his tongue from wagging, or you've been poking your nose where you shouldn't, sir.
Even so, Emily, you're raising a royalist army. That's no small matter.
And you are straying from the subject. Is there anything else you wanted to ask me?
I found a torn piece of dress in Miss Adams' room. Gray silk.
Where's it from?
That's what I'm trying to find out. The color doesn't match any of Elizabeth's dresses, but I might not have found all of her clothes yet.
Good Lord, Louis, do you realize what this means? If this piece of dress isn't from Elizabeth, then it's... I don't have any grey silk dresses, Louis. Neither does my sister, since we wear the same clothes.
Yeah, that's exactly what I wanted to check with you.
I'm so sorry, Louis.
Thank you.
Are you all right? You know, I'm sure there's a good reason why your mother was at the scene.
Thank you, Emily. I won't keep you, Emily. Thank you for answering my questions.
See you, Louis.
Devil's Thorn, to be used to uncover the best.
The Prince by Machiavelli. A perfect read for anyone with a surfeit of ambition. That might come in handy.
A bicorn decorated with a cockade. It must belong to a French soldier. Carmelite water. They say that if you drink this, it gives you a real boost.
My dearest son, I'm writing to implore you to act quickly. The situation is rapidly worsening here. Paoli continues to steer our motherland, Corsica, toward open warfare between France and England. His men are everywhere. We are obliged to go into hiding and are unable to remain in the same place for more than 2 days. I wouldn't be surprised if they targeted us soon. Make haste, my son. You hold our destiny in your hands. Your loving mother, Maria Letizia Bonaparte.
The Battle of Alexander at Issus, or how Alexander the Great triumphed over King Darius. Yet another one with delusions of grandeur. Amber crystals. French actor Talma is Nero in Britannicus, the last emperor of the Caesar dynasty. There's just one holster in Bonaparte's gear, and the pistol is missing. On the other hand, his cleaning equipment is in mint condition. That's typical of the soldier in him.
My dear Napoleon, as previously agreed, I would like to ask you to join us in January on my island to participate in the High Society meeting organized for the occasion. We shall be able to continue our discussion about our project for a new order for France. I have a proposition to make to you concerning your wish to put a strong leader at the head of France. I trust you to be discreet as to your coming. See you soon. Lord William Mortimer.
Vercingetorix throws down his arms at the feet of Julius Caesar by Royer, two great army chiefs. It's a beautiful weapon, a lovely damask blade. It's marked with the initials of the manufacturer in Versailles.
Monsieur de Richet, please be quick. We are both very busy.
Did you hear about young Elizabeth?
Indeed, it is deeply regrettable.
Lord Mortimer asked me to...
I know. You no doubt want to know my alibi. I spent the night downstairs playing cards.
Can you tell me who was present at the game, please?
Well, there were Lord Mortimer, President Washington, and Sir Gregory.
Thank you.
Ah, and His Eminence Piaget as well. Excuse me, I nearly forgot him. Poor soul.
Did you notice anything unusual during the evening?
Nothing at all, except the luck of the devil of Lord Mortimer and Sir Gregory at cards.
Did they win much?
Oh la la, monsieur, they cleaned us out more like. But I plan on getting it all back before we leave.
Did any of you leave during the game?
Not that I know of, monsieur. I didn't exactly spend my time noting the other guests' comings and goings, but I don't think so.
Thank you. What time did the game end?
I can't say exactly. As for me, I must have stayed until midnight. I was exhausted, couldn't think straight, so I preferred to go up to bed.
On your way up to bed, did you notice anything out of the ordinary?
No, not in the least. The whole manor was sound asleep.
Not really. No. Someone saw you not far from the victim's room. Can you tell me what you were doing exactly, please?
I can tell you that someone is an idiot. I wanted to warn her to be careful. You see, on the night of my arrival, I saw someone leaving her room in haste, and I wanted to speak to her, to warn her. Unfortunately, the young lady slipped through my fingers each time. Now I know why. She had every reason to be worried. What an idiot I was not to insist. I could have helped her.
I've been studying him for a while now, and I don't think he was lying. Yet, I'm surprised how easy it was for me to read him. It must surely be his military side. I wish they all could be like that. My investigation would be finished already. As any good soldier would, I imagine you own a firearm. May I see it?
Oh, well, if you really want to, here is my pistol. Don't worry, it is not loaded.
Do you have several of these?
In Corsica, oui, but not on me when I am traveling. Only a bandit would carry such an arsenal.
Thank you.
Well, have we finished, monsieur?
Exactly. Thanks again for all your answers. Good day. The Massacre of the Innocents by Rubens. A bit gloomy. Guess my room is not that bad.
Dear friend, please come and join us. We must meet about the ongoing operations in Paris. A boat will be waiting for you in Calais and will take you to Dover in England. From there, a carriage will take you to the port of Tintagel, where a frigate will be waiting for you and other guests, so you can meet up with me on my island as quickly as possible. I await your arrival. Lord William Mortimer.
Records of the police. Notes intended for the police lieutenant of Paris. It's a list of people under surveillance in Paris. And there's some well-known names on it. This is valuable information. This shouldn't be lying around.
All right. Have you finished?
Not quite. I'd like you to answer a few questions. Let's get right to it. Are you Elizabeth Adams' murderer?
That is for you to prove, if I'm not mistaken, boy. You weren't expecting me to do all the legwork for you, were you? Lazy man.
I know you were at the scene. We will save a lot of time if you just tell me what happened.
You know nothing at all.
Enlighten me then. For now, I have your footprint in a pool of blood.
That's right. The only thing you can prove is one of my boots was at the scene. Congratulations, you've wrapped up the investigation. All right, have you finished?
Not quite. I'd like you to answer a few questions. I'd like to talk about the letter you're writing. What woman is it addressed to?
Who says it's a woman? I'm not saying any more. There's no point you insisting. All right. Have you finished?
Not quite. I'd like you to answer a few questions. You were armed the night of my arrival. Can I see your weapon?
No.
You do realize you're not helping, don't you? You're making it worse for yourself. Goodbye, sir. We shall meet again.
Probably.
A pattern with 4 circles. Dear Monsieur Peru, I'm writing to thank you for the funds you sent. These funds will be crucial for the renovation of the western wing of the orphanage. The children you sent are doing marvelously well, and little Pierre will soon be walking. Some of them still sometimes suffer nightmares about their parents on the scaffold, but I expect they will cease in due course. Should you decide to send us more, please note that another 20 beds will soon be ready. The children and myself will never thank you enough. Long live the Republic. Long live France. Sister Marie-Hélène. I have no space left. I'll retrieve it later. Decorum guide. The alchemist as a young man. A chest locked with a 4-letter code. Surely a word close to the owner's heart. Golden elixir. The sorrows of young Werther. There's a handwritten text signed by von Werner on this first page. Dear Elizabeth, I know that this book is but a small token compared to the delightful moments you gave me, but I hope that this will nonetheless keep the memory alive. Your ever-obedient servant. So, Werner had a relationship with Elizabeth, but that's hardly surprising given his fondness for the occult. The signs of obscurantism. A chest locked with a 4-letter code. Surely a word close to the owner's heart. Amber. The alchemist is an old man.
What can I do for you, de Richet?
Monsieur, Lord Mortimer has appointed me to investigate the tragedy that befell us last night.
Oh, yes. It's horrible. Yes. How can I help, monsieur?
Where were you last night?
In my room. I read a few ancient manuscripts before going to bed. But I didn't stay up long. I was tired.
Thank you kindly. Excuse me for asking, but did you know Miss Adams?
Oh, she... not really, to tell the truth. No.
I found the Werther dedication, signed by your hand, monsieur. Would you like to change your version now?
Be careful, de Richet. Don't push your luck. My relationship with Miss Adams was Pure, and has nothing to do with you. Well, continue playing the detective as you see fit. But if I find the bastard who did that to Elizabeth, I will...
Yes! I would have preferred a simple response, but I see I have my answer now. Exactly how long had you been seeing her?
I have no reason to answer you.
I see. Is that what you want me to tell Lord Mortimer when he asks what I found out?
It's only been a few weeks.
You loved her, didn't you?
That is none of your damn business.
Your feelings betray you, sir.
So on. Yes, I loved her, like a moth loves the flame of a candle. That's why we could never be together.
I get the impression that your romance was over. Am I right?
So? What does it matter to you? I would never have attacked her, if that's what you're insinuating.
Who put an end to the relationship? You or her?
It was her. It was her. But what does that matter? We both agreed.
We finished. Well, I'll have a look around and then take my leave.
Do whatever you have to do.
The Sorrows of Young Werther. There's a handwritten text signed by von Wohner on this first page. Dear Elizabeth, I know that this book is but a small token compared to the delightful moments you gave me, but I hope that this will nonetheless keep the memory alive. Your ever-obedient servant. So, Wohner had a relationship with Elizabeth. But that's hardly surprising given his fondness for the occult. A table of alchemical symbols. Someone circled the zinc symbol. A chest locked with a 4-letter code. Surely a word close to the owner's heart.
How can I help, monsieur?
We finished. I'll have a look around and then take my leave.
Do whatever you have to do.
A chest with a half-circle pattern.
Has Sir finished with this room?
I know enough now. Thank you.
Very well, sir. Sir may return whenever need be. I shall guard the door.
Nightmare painted by Fuseli in 1781. I've come to speak about the findings of the investigation, my lord.
I'm listening, Louis.
Will you remind me of the facts we already know about?
Elizabeth Adams was killed last night, but Piaggi was with Holm and I until late at night. As for Bonaparte and Washington, they left us after midnight, both tired.
I believe I've identified the murderer.
Really, Louis? All right then. Please think carefully before you give me your answer. This is a very, very serious accusation.
I'm going to need a bit more time to review my findings about the crime.
I do understand. All the more so as it's crucial not to make any mistakes when it comes to naming the culprit.
I've come to speak about the findings of the investigation, my lord.
I'm listening, Louis.
I'm sorry, my lord, but I don't have any evidence conclusive enough to allow me to name the culprit with certitude.
Really? I see. Well, that's your decision, Louis, and I accept it. Given the distinguished guests and the sensitive political issues involved at the conference, I trust you'll leave me to conclude the case in my own way. Right. It's time we spoke about your mother, Louis.
She isn't missing, you know.
What? What do you mean?
My mother has left traces in every nook and cranny of your island, my lord. She's definitely here. Now, what worries me most is why she doesn't show herself.
That doesn't make me feel any better, Louis.
What was the official reason why my mother came to your island?
I knew about your mother's activities, and yours, in the Golden Order. I thought we had everything to gain by working together.
You mean the canon deal with Monsieur Bonaparte?
Among others, yes. How did you hear about that?
Monsieur Bonaparte came to speak to me about it yesterday, during lunch.
I see. So impetuous. He was supposed to let me speak to you about it first. Our friend Napoleon desperately needed financial backing to properly equip his army. I took it upon myself to back him because I have a firm conviction that he can go far.
We shall see. However, there's one thing that surprises me. Did my mother intend to finance a war? I'm not sure that I follow.
No, your mother's aim was not so much to partake in a war, but rather to make Monsieur Bonaparte accountable. France is in turmoil, and having support of a military man can often come in handy, Louis. You'll see. Once this deal was closed, I had big plans for Sarah.
Such as what?
You see, I've invited several influential figures on my island to present them with a project at the conference. It will be presented later today. I thought that the Golden Order had a role to play. And I still think so. I was hoping Sarah would be able to join us.
I see.
Indeed, if by chance your mother decided not to return to us before the conference, would you do me the great honor of attending? If only to follow the deliberations while waiting for her to duly take her seat.
Why not? We shall see.
Thank you so much. In this way, you'll be able to keep your mother informed of what he said. There's something else I'd like to briefly go over. Earlier, you asked me the official reason for your mother's presence here. Is there an off-the-record reason why your mother came here?
If only my mother had trusted me, but she remained very mysterious. I'd have been delighted to answer your question.
Is this usual for her?
As head of the Order, secrets are her bread and butter, as you can imagine. That said, it's the first time she hasn't let me in on the reason for her trip. And it intrigues me, to tell you the truth.
Well, I'm sure that Sarah will explain everything once she reappears. There's something I still don't get. In your opinion, why would your mother remain in hiding over several weeks?
Maybe she found something out.
What do you mean?
My mother has a gift for investigating. If she had picked up a lead, nothing would have stopped her.
The only thing I can tell you is that Sarah had indeed changed. At the beginning of her stay here, we enjoyed spending time together, solving the world's problems.
You seem to know my mother very well, my lord. What did you talk about together?
Oh, as soon as we had a little free time, we liked to share points of view about practically any subject. We would find ourselves embarked on interminable discussions that could go from Monsieur Blanchard's flight in a hot air balloon to the Treaty of Jassy, or the adoption of the metric system in France last year, or even Mr. Eli Whitney's invention in the United States.
My mother must have undoubtedly taken great pleasure in these exchanges. She always was one to appreciate broadening her knowledge. I'm surprised she didn't get you started on the Crusades. It was her favorite subject.
Are you joking? Sarah and I spent entire days together reliving them. It so happens that the Crusades are also my subject of predilection, especially the third. My ancestor distinguished himself brilliantly during the siege of Saint-Jean d'Acre.
Unfortunately, my lord, the Crusades are not my chosen field.
Well, it doesn't matter. You have plenty of time to learn. Your mother is a very well-read woman. You're quite lucky to have her as a model, Louis.
Yes, I know, but I'm still very worried.
I must admit, there are worse things to worry about now, Louis.
What do you mean?
Since she disappeared, your mother has been seen once. Her behavior on the evening of your arrival greatly surprised Gregory and myself. She resurfaced to attack Emma, Emily Hillsborough's twin sister, and she shot her with a pistol. Then, before Gregory could intervene, she ran off and disappeared again.
I beg your pardon? Hang on.
That means my vision on the wharf, it was actually happening inside the manor. Mother shot Emily's sister? The very person she came looking for? Why would she do that?
Excuse me, but between that and the childhood of Lady Adams, it's all a bit much for me to cope with. I need to piece it all together again to see things more clearly. You said that you spent a lot of time talking together at the beginning. What happened for that to change?
I'm afraid I haven't much to tell you. The more the days went by, the more she withdrew into herself. She never gave me an explanation, until the day came when she purely and simply disappeared.
Where did she go when she wanted to be alone?
She would shut herself away in a room we use as a box room upstairs.
Would you allow me to go there?
Naturally, Louis, of course. I'll send you a servant to open it.
Thank you.
That's all I can tell you about the disappearance of your mother, Louis. I would like to have been more helpful.
I shall stay on her trail and follow up any leads.
Thank you. We will meet later on to welcome our last guest. In the meantime, I shall get someone to open the box room upstairs for you.
Thank you.
The room is just opposite Mortimer's study. There are burnt papers in the chimney. There's a legible fragment left. Hey, I recognize my mother's handwriting. She says, we must find a safer way to communicate. Someone is on to us. Trust in my faith in the man with the sword. So Mother had an accomplice here. Who could it be? Who could she be suspicious of? I must find the next part.
faith, sword. I recognize her love of riddles there. Honey, I couldn't have hoped for better.
Dante's Paradise. Raise your head and be reassured, for what comes up here from the mortal world must ripen in our rays.
What is this disc? The door appears to be locked on the other side. I think I heard something fall to the ground. A metallic sound, like a... We'll see if it works.
It's open.
A chest with the occult symbol representing air.
The New Testament.
This book is incredibly precious. I believe this is the book my mother referred to when calling upon the Lord. It's St. John, painted by Guido Reni.
Several portraits of apostles, all signed by Guido Reni.
Looks like someone touched this commode recently.
There are fingerprints on the sheets and in the dust.
Painting of St. Mark from the collection of the apostles by Guido Reni. St. Paul painted by Guido Reni. St. Paul is shown holding a sword. Strange. There's hardly any dust, as if the painting's been cleaned recently. There's a small inscription engraved on the frame. Let's take a closer look. This is how Paul spoke to his pilgrims from Rome. Just above that, someone's written down the figure 11 on the painting and underlined it twice. No, what does that mean? So we have the figure 11 twice underlined, and a story of a group of pilgrims who it looks like Paul is speaking to. Maybe it's a code. There must be a connection. A text on Paul must be somewhere, and it must be associated with the figure 11. But what's the story with these pilgrims? I mean, a connection with a figure, maybe?
I say then, have they stumbled that they should fall? God forbid, but rather through their fall, salvation is come unto the Gentiles, for to provoke them to jealousy.
Oh, wait. A note from Mother is carefully folded between the pages here. What does it say?
Dear E, I'm glad you found this note. I was afraid the code of the two groups of pilgrims would mislead you. Pick up the package. You know where, and hide it where no one will find it. It's imperative. Awaiting your reply, hidden behind the youngest apostle.
What? The youngest apostle? What does Mother mean by that? St. John is the only apostle painted in this gallery who hasn't got a beard. Hey, wait! That means it's him. He's the youngest apostle. Right. This painting is therefore associated with the answer which E had to give to my mother. Now, I just need to know how to recover the answer. It's St. John, painted by Guido Rini. The painting looks like it's been taken down recently. What was it my mother said? That she would wait for an answer hidden behind the apostle. Ah, of course! There's something written behind the painting. On the second day, the pilgrims will listen to the prophecy of the young apostle. They shall add 1 companion to their left and 3 to their right to complete their rank. What does it mean? They should add a companion to their left and 3 to their right to complete their ranks. I imagine it applies to their code, the one Mother set up with the pilgrims. What's this? A group of pilgrims who Paul was talking to, and now John is telling them prophecies? But that which beareth thorns and briars is rejected, and is nigh unto cursing, whose end is to be burned. Here's a message. There are some complications. Indeed, the Prussian is insistent. What's happening at your end? Do you need help? If tonight is not possible, let's say tomorrow evening, in the South Room, where we reviewed the situation. When Paul understood that only the acts counted, he went back on his tracks. I await your confirmation to his left, in the company of the pilgrims that have joined him. Yeah, this last comment is about their code. I should find new pilgrims near Paul. I guess I'll just come back later. There's nothing worth noticing here. Little characters are engraved on the chest of drawers under the urn. It's a sentence in Hebrew. There are finger marks, deliberately drawn in the dust. 8 in all. No, nothing of value here. It's too cumbersome for me to unhook here, but judging by the dust, it hasn't been moved for months, if not years. Little characters are engraved on the chest of drawers under the urn. It's a sentence in Hebrew.
Several portraits of apostles, all signed by Guido Reni. Looks like someone touched this commode recently. There are fingerprints on the sheets and in the dust. St. Paul painted by Guido Reni. St. Paul on the Road to Damascus by Caravaggio. Caravaggio attained a magnificent command of black and the play of colors too. Paul facing an ordeal, the curtains of his illusions being raised, and receives the light from his Savior. This painting has been hanging here for a long time. A lot of dust is built up on it. Well, a finger has drawn a number in the thin layer of dust. I can read the number 4. St. Paul is the only saint to be presented twice in these paintings, contrary to the other apostles. How come? There's something else behind this painting. It says, half of each group will join the first city of Corinth. What the hell does that mean? A drawing of the Apostle Matthew, painted by Guido Reni. He's represented as writing the word of the Lord, transmitted by the Holy Spirit, who appears here in the guise of an angel. There are some complications. Indeed, the Prussian is insistent. What's happening at your end? Do you need help? If tonight is not possible, let's see tomorrow evening, in the South Room, where we reviewed the situation. When Paul understood that only the acts counted, he went back on his tracks. I await your confirmation to his left, in the company of the pilgrims that have joined him. Yeah. This last comment is about their code. I should find new pilgrims near Paul. And he became very hungry and would have eaten, but while they were made ready, he fell into a trance. Hey, there's a note here. A message from Mother in reply to E. We must leave urgently, but first I absolutely must go beyond the nightmare. Watch out for Volner. He figured out I was avoiding him. Allay suspicion. See you tomorrow evening. Stand ready. For now, let's cease all communication until we meet. Take care of yourself. I suppose this must be the last message. What happened afterward? If it's what I suspect, I fear the worst. What did Mother mean by, I absolutely must go beyond the nightmare? I must go beyond the nightmare. What does she mean by that? Clearly, she must be trying to do something useful, but what? The nightmare. Does that remind me of anything? It probably has to do with an object or something. Granting that this is the case, where am I to be found? It was a study. I'm practically sure of it. Yes, it's the painting that was behind Mortimer's study. Well, let's see if Mortimer has anything to hide behind his painting. Mortimer's getting his guests together. I ought to join them so I don't look suspicious. It's time I went back and joined everyone in the small salon.